You know the feeling. You check your schedule and you see that your next session is John. So you mentally prepare for the session, you walk into your waiting room, and there's John, along with Susan, who is also one of your clients and doesn't have an appointment for today. My friend, you just double booked. Mother son of a So most of us have been there before. We're only human, right? But it feels awful when you double book, because the truth is, most of the time, both John and Susan really need to be seen. So how do you decide who to see? What also sucks is when the person you weren't expecting to see just so happens to be in more distress and maybe even in crisis. So you don't know what to do because you have this person that you were expecting to see and then this person who's in crisis. How do you decide? While it's important to do your very best to keep this from happening, and I'll share my strategy in just a few minutes, it's important to at least have a game plan. So the very first thing you do when you walk into your waiting room and see John and Susan is you're simply gonna look at both of them and smile. You will tell both of them that you'll be right back, and you're gonna go right to your office and figure out what the hell just happened. So you're gonna do a few things here, and you're gonna do them quickly. First, you're gonna look at your paper planner, and you're gonna see, when did I last see John? When did I last see Susan? Susan is not on the schedule. So then you're gonna check your EHR, if you keep one, your online scheduler, your Google Calendar. You're even gonna go into your email and use the search bar to figure out if there was any email correspondence between you and Susan that somehow she got the message that she had an appointment today. Your job here is to figure out where you screwed up. Now at this point, there are a few ways you can go about it. If you find out that you did in fact schedule both people at the same time and you totally screwed up, my recommendation is to think about who is in more distress. That can be kind of tricky, especially if both of them are. I mean, after all, they're coming to therapy. So they're probably both in a lot of distress, but is one of them maybe in crisis, or you know that personally they're having so much going on that it really would be beneficial for them to be seen? After all, you're the one who screwed up and you did in fact schedule both of them. If the answer is yes, one of them is clearly in more distress. For this example, let's say Susan's in more distress. So even though you have John on your schedule, you're thinking about Susan's situation and she really needs to be seen. What you're gonna do next is go into the waiting room. You will tell Susan that you'll be right with her, and you're gonna call John back. John's gonna come back and you are going to come clean. You're gonna tell him that you double booked. You're gonna take full responsibility for it. And then you are going to get him rescheduled as soon as possible. Do not let John leave without scheduling something, because you want him to know that you value him, you're so sorry, and you're gonna do whatever it takes to get him scheduled, hopefully that same week. Then you're gonna go back to the waiting room, call Susan back, and you are not, I repeat not going to tell Susan what just happened. And here's why. If I found out that my therapist double booked and chose to see me, I wouldn't feel flattered. I'd feel guilty. I would carry all of this shit about feeling bad for John when that guilt ain't mine to feel, because I arrived at the appointment that I thought was scheduled. So don't tell Susan that you double booked and you're choosing to see her. As far as she knows, you could have just been chatting with him about the results of some questionnaire that he took. So carry on the session as normal. Now, if you check your planner and your online scheduler and your email, and you can't find anything that indicates that Susan was supposed to be here, then you have a little bit of a different job to do. If this happens, odds are Susan made a mistake. So what you're gonna go do is walk into your waiting room, tell John you'll be right back, bring Susan back, tell her that you don't have her on your calendar, apologize, take some level of responsibility just in case maybe you did screw up, then reschedule Susan as soon as you can. So you'll still treat it similar as the other situation, except this time you're not basing it on level of distress. You're just basing it on the fact that Susan may have screwed up. So apologize, take some responsibility for the mishap, and then get her rescheduled. Go back and see John as normal, not letting him know that you think you may have double booked. So there's two things I want to point out here. Number one, never, under any circumstance, should you ever offer a free session for messing up an appointment. You're not a restaurant that screwed up a plate. You are a human being, so it's important for you to model humility, taking responsibility, and forgiving yourself for screwing up. If a client becomes that irate with you because you double booked, they probably weren't ideal anyway. Double booking is one of those things that almost every therapist has done, but nobody talks about it. You're not gonna get burned at the stake for double booking. Just acknowledge that you're a human and you screwed up, and then try to fix whatever that janky system was that caused the double booking to happen in the first place. So a few months ago, I asked my email list if they had ever double booked and what systems they have in place to keep it from happening. While I got a lot of really interesting stories from therapists who've double booked, absolutely no one had a surefire, foolproof way of preventing double booking. So you're in good company. So here's what I do. I have double booked before in the past. It was awful, and I survived, and my clients kept coming back. So I keep all of my appointments, first and foremost, in this bad boy. So at the end of every session, I'm writing it down in my paper planner, and that's the first point of contact for all new sessions. Then in between appointments or at the end of the day, I'm taking everything in here and I'm putting it into my electronic health record system. So that's my system for keeping it so that I don't double book, and it's worked so far. As long as I start with one place where I'm keeping it and then transfer everything online. So what system do you have in place to keep yourself from double booking? Comment below and tell me what works for you. See you next week. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to hit subscribe and go to yourbadasstherapypractice.com. I have a free 4-part video e-course on how to take your Psychology Today profile from bad to badass. Can't wait to see you there.